in America. Together as one in a land that we love. United we stand in America.
Good morning. It is Tuesday. It is 10 o'clock, and it is time for Tuesday's Talk at 10. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Dr. Collins.
Good morning.
How are you today?
Again, and phlegm and all this kind of stuff. Again, today it's been
It's all choked up.
it's been a constant companion since COVID, vaccine, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So, anyway, I'm here. We were absent last Tuesday because I was in a meeting just about 9 miles north of Branson, 32 miles north or south of where I live. So wasn't able to do the broadcast, but we are here today. What are we going to talk about?
Yeah. I snuck away last week too, so I went to a meeting as well. So that was a lot of fun. I wanted to talk about accountability. When you think about that word and what it means, you've certainly walked a long walk of accountability on many different levels. And so just kind of what does that look like in a person's life?
Accountability?
Yes.
Is that the word?
That's the word.
Well, it's a concept that's sadly lacking in the United States today. I don't know what about the rest of the world, but I would say that in the so-called civilized world, it's a commodity that's more and more difficult to find. If you would go to the Amazon jungle, you would find that they are very accountable to one another, accountable to their environment, and accountable to the source of supply that they have for food and water and clothing, etc.
So it's kind of the idea of stewarding the land in that case.
Well, out of necessity, yes, they do. But what it tells me is that with all of man's progress, he's falling farther behind. The more sophisticated, the more technological, etc., we become, the less accountable we are.
So I think,
and that's sad, but I believe it's true.
Now, I think a lot of that has to do with just the ease, right?
Has nothing to do with what?
You think about our lives, especially in America or Western society culture, the wealth we have, the ease we have, and I mean, there's people that'll say they don't. There's all kinds of stress, and those are things that can be talked about. But really, even the poorest person, the person that's on the street, holding a sign, is wealthier than most of the people in the world. It's incredible. If you showed a picture of them with their, shopping cart with items in their backpack and their cell phone or whatever they have out there, you show that to someone around the world, say they're homeless, they would wonder what you were talking about. I remember a friend of mine from Rwanda, he was talking about, there's homeless people in America that live in a car, and the people in Africa are like, how could they be homeless if they have a car? That doesn't make any sense at all. So I wonder if some of that accountability that you're talking about has to do with some of that luxury, ease, abundance of stuff that we have.
Well, it could have. It could be one part of the equation.
Yeah, it wouldn't be all of it.
But another part is that we are increasingly feeling as though we have less need for someone else other than to go to when there's no place else to go. these things we call cell phones and iPads and computers have a right and a left hand.
Yeah.
They are a blessing and constructive, but they're also a curse and very destructive. And um, we are so dependent upon technology that we've forgotten that without people, technology would not have been developed to be useful.
Yeah.
In other words, we are simply replacing a dependence on people with technology, so we are more accountable to Apple and Android and
Yeah.
Bill Gates and so forth than we are to our next door neighbor.
Yeah. And it's amazing the pattern that I see now with AI, personal assistance, the ability to communicate seemingly with it, where you can talk, it can simulate a voice coming back and ideas, and it's all just simple math. It's formulas. It's not real intelligence at all, but it feels like you're talking to somebody. I look at the trend that has happened especially in Western culture in America. That's what I'm most familiar with, where we've had this trend of everybody saying, okay, you need to go to more counseling, you need to go to counselors. And not that I'm saying there's anything wrong with that. There's absolutely a place for that, and something you have great expertise in, actually. But that tendency then is leading them often to use that individual simply as their counselor, not seeking the counsel of the full body of Christ, not seeking that counsel with others, and limit their counseling to the one individual. That's dangerous, because you can easily get led astray. Then now the transition is to that AI personality that becomes the counselor, becomes the friend, becomes the companion, so they don't have to go out. You don't, so there's an isolation that doesn't feel like it. They feel like they're communicating with someone, they feel like they're interacting with an intelligence, and it's not. It's deception. It's a perception of communication, but it's not. And it's amazing to see how these things have gone. And of course, ultimately, for me, as a believer, I know that the ultimate counselor we need is the Holy Spirit. We need Him as our counselor. And it's great to have other individuals that can reflect things back to us, and we can use technology and all these things, but they can easily come and control us and take us down a very bad path, if we aren't having the wisdom, and then going to the accountability of Scripture, right? Always having that as our firm foundation.
Well, Dennis, of course, I refer quite often to the old days when I was young.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the benefits of age, having lived in a different period of time. We were very people oriented. And I remember what a pleasant thing it was to sit on the front porch at night and visit with the older couple who lived next door. And then we went through a period of time when whole house air conditioning came along, and people, they stopped building front porches for a while. We went through a generation with no front porch. People were cocooning. They could stay warm in the winter, cool in the summer, and even in their automobiles, they had air conditioning. And all of that had that was great technology, but it also had it was one of the reasons why we stopped connecting.
Yeah.
And when there's no connection, then there's no need for accountability.
No.
Now, I'm going to digress here just a little bit.
Please.
Because this is if I had to have a favorite concern or a list of favorites, this would be on that list of favorite concerns. The cell phone is a marvelous invention.
Yeah, it is.
I remember my first phone hung on the wall and had a crank.
What did the crank do?
It notified the operator, we called Central, that someone was calling in. And so she would see a light on the switchboard, meaning that it was coming from my house. And so she would plug a connection in there to her earphones, and she'd be able to talk directly to me and ask me who I wanted to talk to. And I would tell her the person's name. And she'd say, just a moment. And she would plug in my, what she had plugged into me, she would plug in to that person, and she would crank, and it would ring at that person's house. And that person pick up the phone. She was a connecting link. Yeah.
And the plugs were just like this one, very much so. They haven't changed a lot in technology on the plug.
No, they haven't. No. And then we reached a point where we had a phone that sat on a stand in the living room. And it was connected to the wall with a cord. And in order to answer the phone, you had to go into that room.
Right.
To use it, you had to go in that room.
One room, one phone.
Right. One room, one phone. And that phone would have, if you picked up the receiver, a woman on the other end would answer, and she would say, "Number, please." And you would give her the number, and it was 4 digits.
Yeah.
That's all, just 4 digits. And she, on her end, in a switchboard, would plug in to that number, make the connection. Again, that little plug. Then later, a man invented a dial. And some people have seen a dial phone. We have generations who've never seen them.
Yeah.
But you could you dial the various number that you wanted, and it did not replace the woman at the headquarters. It's just that was her way of signaling her the number, and she's plugging everything in.
Yeah, you can kind of hear clicks. Like if you turn it to a 1, you could think of it this way: turn it to the 1, it'd click once; turn it to 2, it clicked twice. So that's clicking on the other end, basically.
Right, exactly. So anyway, as they say, we've come a long ways, but have we? Because now people carry the cell phone and they use it for many things other than phone calls.
Yeah.
They use it.
It's literally a computer. It's a computer in your pocket that you can use as a phone as well, but it's a computer.
Right. And there's been for the many, about the time it came into common usage, there was more computer ability in that phone than what was required to land a man on the moon.
Oh yeah, a long time ago.
But Dennis, one of the overlooked parts of this communication portion of accountability was a thing called a pager.
Yeah.
And you could wear it on your belt, and it buzzed, and you knew that you had a phone call, so you could go to a telephone.
Right.
And then later it would buzz.
Yeah, it had a really small screen, and it could show just a few numbers, and there'd be enough that they could scroll across the phone number. It couldn't show a full phone number, at least when they first came out, I don't think. But it could show a few numbers, and then they go across. So
at first, they didn't even show numbers. You just knew you'd go.
just something happened.
And go to the phone. And then, but eventually they had voice pagers, and a voice would come on. And so back then I carried a lot of quarters, 25-cent pieces. Right. That's a coin for our young generation. It's a coin.
And bits, isn't it?
And one of them? Why I used it to put in a payphone, because by then payphones had increased in price from a nickel to 10 cents to 25 cents.
Yeah, I was really upset when they went up from a dime to, I think they jumped up a lot from a dime. I don't remember them going to like 20 cents. It seems like they went from a dime to a quarter almost.
Yeah, and but then pagers were not necessarily very long. I remember being out on our deck where we were living at the time, and telling my wife Nancy that now that cell phones were no longer bag phones, a phone in a right. bag that you carried on your shoulder.
Yeah.
That it would probably be cheaper for me to carry a cell phone than to be putting quarters in a payphone. And so we did the math, the arithmetic, and sure enough, it would be cheaper. And the cell phone then was about 3 inches thick.
Oh yeah.
If you put it on your belt, your belt wanted to hang down. It was heavy. Very limited in usage. It was to make and receive calls. That was
the original phones were a phone. That's pretty much what they were. Yeah.
That's all. And then I watched them develop to what we have now. And but here's what I'm getting at. I haven't lost my place. Accountability.
Yes.
With all of the advances that we've made with phones and computers, people are becoming less accountable. Dennis, this thing here, my cell phone, it's with me every place but in the shower.
You can get a waterproof one.
Even if it wasn't in the shower.
I know.
If it rings, I answer it unless I'm in a situation where it's impossible.
Yeah.
And if I don't answer it, it does take messages. And I don't just look and say, well, here's the number, I'll call it back. If it left a message, I listen to the message.
Right.
Because it may be a message saying, don't call me.
Yeah, exactly.
Now,
I'm in an important meeting. Don't call me, but I need you to know this important thing. There you go. Yeah.
Now, I can count probably on one hand, certainly on two hands, and I have a long phone list of the number of people who actually answer this thing called a phone.
Yeah.
Very few people that I call actually answer the phone.
Yeah.
And those that sometimes it'll let me leave a message, and I get ready to leave a message, and it'll say, sorry, but the user's mailbox is full.
It's full, yeah.
That means they haven't bothered to even clean out their messages.
Or they never set it up or whatever. They never check it. Something.
I know several people. Well, no, there are some who didn't set it up, but it'll set it up.
Yeah.
You don't even have to set it up.
I think it might say not set it up. I forget, but yeah.
Well, some of them, but depending on the company, some companies you automatically get voicemail. But most people have voicemail. They just don't listen to them.
Yeah.
And so as a result, they never delete one. The box gets full. There's no more room for messages. Now, let me tell you, there's a man I know in a small city near here. He has become wealthy. I guarantee you, if you call his number today, there will be no answer. And when it comes time to leave a message, it will say, sorry, the user's mailbox is full.
Yeah.
And yet he has made a fortune. He's done it his way, which to me is very unaccountable. What he does is he scrolls down through the numbers that people have called him during the day, and finally, you can tell how important you are to him by when he returns the call.
Mm.
I've had him wait 3 weeks to return a call to me, so long that I forgot why I was calling him. So I know I'm not important to him.
Yeah.
Therefore, I do not have to be as accountable to him as I am to my neighbor across the street who answers his phone.
Yes.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So accountability breeds accountability. Inaccountability breeds inaccountability.
Yeah.
And so if somebody wants me to be accountable, answer the phone.
Yeah.
Also, regarding text messages, I have people that take 2 weeks to respond to a text message.
Hmm.
How tough can it be to type a few words?
I prefer
So
text. Yeah, it's not bad.
I have a cuckoldburr under my saddle about people having very expensive phones, and they do not use them to be accountable.
Yeah, well, that's one of the beauties of the technology we have today. It's like I think about in the past, right? In order to be discipled, in order to have accountability partners, individuals that are investing in time into you, they value you and your relationship, so you can do the same back. You can grow in that accountability. The more you grow in that, the more you can share, the more you can be accountable to, right? That trust would verify as you go along, and all of that, and just the ability to use technology to do that, there's no excuse, right? I think of someone like you who always offers to be there for others, who always offers to disciple others. And I've watched for over 20 years. If someone comes to you, you respond. If someone asks, you answer. If someone seeks, you'll give them whatever you have if you have it for them, whatever it is. And yet I see so few that take advantage of it. It's kind of a one of the reasons, another one of those many reasons for this show. Doing that with you is to show that, hey, there's some people willing to take some time to invest in your life. Are you availing yourself to them? And if you're not, why not? You have a computer in your pocket a large portion of the time. For most of, at least in this Western area, or this audience around here, you've got that. You've got the ability. Even if you were crippled or imprisoned or something, if you have that, you're able to communicate with so many individuals, and there are people willing. So, are you making
last Saturday
yourself?
evening, I had 4 phone calls during dinner. I'm not bemoaning that. I'm thankful that somebody wants to call me.
Yeah.
And then last evening, I only had one during dinner, but I had one. But if we are not going to be accountable, we will have a shortage of friends.
Mm.
And in these days in which we live, these are dangerous times.
Yeah.
We need every friend that we can find.
Yeah, I have
And
a
friends,
neighbor that's a good brother, and he helps me a lot of different times with things, and we do some different things together. And he says, I've got more money than friends. I need more friends.
we friendship works two ways.
Uh,
Um, to be a friend, you have to have a friend be a friend. If you want people to be accountable, then you must be accountable. I have another example here for you.
mhm.
Uh, there's a group of ministers that I consult with at a distance from Springfield, where I live. They're in another state. And I wasn't, they were wanting uh, to hear from me, but then there would be no acknowledgement on their end that they'd received what I sent them.
Oh,
Uh, so that's not a good thing. That's what
no.
you call shooting blanks in the dark. You're not going to hit anything, and or at least not on purpose.
Yeah.
So finally I sent a fairly strongly worded but still loving message, not only by email but by text message to each one of them about and I sent it to others too, so that it wasn't just specifically them.
Mm.
I wanted everybody to know the importance of acknowledging emails, phone calls, and text messages.
Yeah.
And um, one of them replied,
Mm.
and consequently, he is the one that I know will reply as quickly as he has a break on his job. He will reply to my email or my text or my video. Sometimes it's a video message. One of them does not. He's very slow to reply, and he's sort of the ringleader of that whole group.
Mm.
But I know why he doesn't reply quickly, and uh, I, I think in order to be accountable, he needs to tell everybody on his list what I know. That is, that when he had a very serious heart attack a few years ago and nearly died, a lot of his memory was erased.
Mm.
And he, to this day, even though he's functioning, he still has a little bit of a handicap. This thing called a cell phone,
Mhm.
he will lay it down and go someplace and forget that he doesn't have it with him, and
Sure.
then can't remember where he put it,
Yeah.
and he forgets to not lay it down.
Yeah.
He forgets not to leave it. See what I'm
Oh,
saying? So
yeah.
he has a memory impairment. Um, but otherwise, I contend that very few people are busier than I am, and I
Yeah.
answer my phone.
I
I
I
return
I
messages.
can testify to that. I'll
So,
give a witness.
what's wrong? Why are people not? Why aren't they responsible and accountable? Why aren't they accountable about their phone and emails and text messages?
The amazing things to me, and I've heard it before, is if you want something done, you go to a busy man, right? Because the guy that has a lot of time, he's got a lot of time, but he's not doing anything. But
Well,
someone
that
that's
one,
busy, like they're, and it's not a busyness, right? But they're actively involved in doing things like yourself, actively involved in ministry. In your case, actively involved in business or something. Like I have a friend of mine. He's an entrepreneur. He's always working a business, looking at other business. He's doing that. Very busy. But if it was time to go eat lunch with them, if I said, "Hey, let's go do something," he would do it. he would make the time. In your case, I can testify, yes, I don't know people that are more actively involved in the kingdom and its advancement than you in so many ways. And yet, in all that activity, all I have to do is send you a simple text and say, hey, can you join me on a show on Tuesdays? And yeah, you're there, you make the time, not because you had a bunch of time floating around you didn't know what to do with, but because you're willing to make that investment. You're willing to share some. And in a lot of ways, there's that accountability with the whole ministry, the media, helping in preserving and continuing some of this legacy, all those things. Oh, excuse me, losing my voice. But go ahead. Lost me.
Well, Dennis, we have people who want to complain about, say, their medical doctor being slow to see them, or how hard it is to navigate their way through the medical system, right. And they're really complaining about accountability. Well, the basis of the practice of medicine these days and pharmaceuticals and the whole system is called continuity of care. Yeah. And so the medical industry has established their foundation of what they consider to be accountability. Yeah. And it's continuity of care. If your primary care cannot see you, go to urgent care. If they're packed out, go to the emergency room. You'll notice some of the systems, when you call a medical number, they will say, if this is an actual medical emergency, you see, it's called accountability. Otherwise, what it's called is covering their behind. Now, on the other hand, to be fair about professions, lawyers are about as unaccountable as any professional group I know. They do not return phone calls. Very rarely. They don't take phone calls. Very rarely.
Well, I don't know if it's billable hours. They probably do. I mean,
no, they don't. No, I'm telling you. We had my wife's parents both in a nursing home, and they were both obviously elderly with health issues. And their life expectancy was very short. And there were some things that had to be handled about their estate planning, their trust. There was a young lawyer in charge of it with a big law firm. My father-in-law was fond of big law firms. He liked to go very professional with everything, which was admirable.
Sure.
However, could not get that young lawyer to return calls. And so one day I just went to the big office building where his big firm had their office. I walked up to the counter, two young women sitting there at the reception desk. I identified myself and I said, I'm the person who's been calling, asking for, I'll use his first name, Doug. And I'm sure you ladies have been giving him the message, haven't you? Yes, sir, we have. I said, here's my card. You go back there and tell Doug that I'll be home in 15 minutes, and I expect him to call me. I was home in 15 minutes. He called, and he was kind of laughing on the phone, making a joke out of it. I said, Doug, this is no laughing matter. My father-in-law is near death, and there's business to be taken care of. And I said, back then, now this was years ago, I said, you're charging us $180 an hour. Tell you what, Doug, for $100 an hour, I'll teach you to answer your phone. He became offended. Now guess what? He's still low man on the totem pole after all these years at that big law firm. Why?
Sure.
Lack of accountability in the extreme. Now, on the other hand, I happen to know another firm, and I happen to have done my seek to be accountable as a son-in-law. I did my research, and here's this other firm, the founder of which was an older man, semi-retired, and I called that firm and I identified myself, and I said, I want to speak to Harry. He said, well, Harry's not in today. He's at home. But who'd you say you were? And I told him, Dr. Paul Collins. Okay. Uh, here's his number. I got his home number. I called. His wife answered. And I told her who I was. And I said, I happen to know that your husband wrote the laws, the statutes concerning the division of assets for asset protection, et cetera, in the state of Missouri. She said, yes, he did. I said, I need to speak to Harry. She said, well, sure, he's right here. She put him on the phone. I told him who I was, what the deal was. He said, meet me at the nursing home. I'll go there and we'll take care of this. Now, he met Nancy and me at the nursing home in my father-in-law's room and took care of it. And I'll tell you what he charged. Nothing.
Yeah.
Accountability. Now, when I'm ready, if I ever need a large law firm, guess where I will go?
Yeah.
Now, so there's a benefit side to accountability. Now let's talk about ministry. Let's talk about, because this is, Acts Media Group is a department of Acts Ministry.
Yep.
This is a Christian 501c3 nonprofit, etc. I get a thing online weekly, and sometimes more than once a week, with updates on what's going on with nonprofits and ministries in particular. The salaries of the top executives, whether it's the Billy Graham Evangelistic Association or whether it's Samaritan's Purse, or whether it's Convoy of Hope, which is headquartered here in Springfield. Yeah. I know what the director, head man of the Convoy of Hope, what his salary was 2 years ago, because it's there, public knowledge. We have many, though, that will not report. They will not file a 990, it's called. Consequently, they're taking in, as all these are all multi-million-dollar a year income ministries.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 million a year is typical, easy. But there are some taking in that much and more who are not accountable at all.
Wow.
So there's no public record as to what they are paying their executives. There's one guy that has a ministry in Texas. I admire the fact that he's accountable. I don't admire the fact that he and both his sons and his daughter and his son-in-law are all high-paid executives in the ministry that's being supported as a nonprofit.
It's a very strange structure.
He's at like $700,000 a year. The next one's like at almost $600,000, $500,000 on down the line. I mean, hundreds of thousands of dollars. So I can do the math.
The money.
I can do the math. Well, they're buying properties. They're investing. They have businesses on the side.
Mm.
Oh yeah, and I can do the math. About half of what comes in uh, is going for maintenance of a huge facility and a payroll other than family, than executives. About a fourth of what's coming in is payroll for family. Maybe a fourth then is in some type of so-called outreach, which means just go out and get more partners, more supporters. See what I'm saying? So it's the unaccountability just means that it's their way of growing the hungry monster so that they get a salary increase every year. Now, those salaries are salaries. There's more than just salaries. There's the benefits too, because those people never pay for a hotel room. They never pay for a meal in a restaurant. They never pay for clothes to wear if they go into a church someplace to speak. They never pay for any kind
I
of
remember one large ministry around the COVID time. I won't say which one right now, but they got them a private or a jet for the ministry, and then the family went and did a working vacation with the jet for the ministry. And I'm not exactly sure if you're in ministry what a working vacation looks
like. They live the lifestyle of the rich and the famous.
Yeah.
Now, to clarify for our viewers, this is not Acts Ministry. Acts Ministry operates bare bones. I don't know what it costs to operate every month, but it's peanuts.
Yeah.
And the amount of money that comes in is peanuts. And I don't know of anybody on salary. I think everybody's volunteer.
Yeah, it's all volunteers.
And I don't know that anybody's even receiving expense money for that matter. I mean, this is truly
it's like a couple thousand a month, 2,000-3,000.
The budget. Well,
and that's insurance, rent, lights, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, you got to pay the utilities,
oversight, bookkeeping, whatever, that stuff. It's not.
Yeah, you have a book. Well, you have a CPA.
We don't have payroll. There's no payroll.
You have a CPA that you have to use once a year.
Yeah.
But you have to pay the rent every month and the utilities every month.
That stuff. Yeah.
And once in a while, you have to purchase a piece of equipment.
Every so often.
But then there are those who would say, well, but because you're small, you have a limited outreach. No, because the internet is the internet. The www stands for World Wide Web.
You take this YouTube video and share it anywhere that doesn't, block it or something. If they block it, you can copy it on a flash drive and smuggle it in. I mean, there's no limit to the outreach. We are reaching the ends of the world. It's not a problem.
www means World Wide Web.
Yeah.
And so it's a matter of people can choose to be supportive of accountability, or they can be supportive of those who are not accountable. I choose to be supportive of those who are accountable. Pure and simple. If someone's not accountable, I won't support them with money, and I won't support them with my time or my efforts, because I do not want to contribute to their delinquency. Those who are unaccountable and do not respond, after a while, I stop messaging. And then when they find out that they've been hearing from old Dr. Paul, they want to know, I've been hearing from you, then I tell them. That's why. There's a lady way in the north part of this state that I know is very wealthy. And I've known her since she was a kid. Lovely lady. She's beautiful inside and out, but gets very involved in life on a farm in a small town, and She's not the type that's going to run in and check her computer every day. That's not what a real good farm lady does. They get up in the mornings and they linger over their coffee and whatever, and then they go to town, so forth. But anyway, after a while, it goes long enough that I will reach out again. And when I do, uh, I get her on the phone and she begins to apologize. And then I start laughing and she knows that all is well. And, but I take into account why she does not respond quickly. Just like the guy in another state who had a heart attack. I understand why he doesn't. But people that have these computers in their house, if they don't check it once a day, they're not being accountable. Yeah. By the way, my webmaster takes care of two websites for me: the church website, my personal website, and because of computers will be computers, like kids will be kids. Things changed, and the internet or the email system changed, and my email simply did not want to deal with his computers. Just didn't want to deal.
Things have happened, that's for sure.
Right. So he came up with a new system, which meant that I had to go to a particular browser and bring up this particular screen and put in this particular password and username to get email and be able to use that to send email to him.
That's the part I like the least.
So, if nothing else, for those who are watching, you can at least have a little fun with this computer thing and your email. It doesn't have to be a frustration that causes you to want to throw a brick through it. Just kind of laugh about it and shake your head and wonder, why wouldn't Outlook send my messages to his email? His email was operating through his website, and he's always changing. Since he's a webmaster, he's always designing new websites for himself, which means they have a new web address, all this kind of stuff. So even my system got confused and didn't know where to send it. So just laugh about it and go ahead.
I had that happening with text with my siblings. There was the update, and then one sister couldn't see text and the other sisters could, and we'd have to turn things on. Then other ones could see, other ones couldn't, all that kind of nonsense. But, one of the things I do want to go back to and just hit on real quick before we do finish is that individuals in my life that are the busiest, and again, I'm not saying they're just busy doing nothing, they are actually actively involved in doing things. Those individuals that if I looked at their life, I'd say they don't have time to help me with something, they're the most reliable when I need something. They're the ones that will respond the quickest. They're the ones that I know I will get a response. The ones that, if I really looked at the surface of things, have the least amount of time and you would think would be the least likely to be able to get back, are the most reliable, like yourself.
Right.
And I think that is the way we should be. If you're so busy, you can't take time to respond to someone that's communicating with you properly. You're not able to understand what they're asking of you, what they're saying to you, and you're not be able to process that and respond in a way where you're actually processing this relationship. Right? You're not just hitting, oh, okay, cool, whatever, some little quick thing to some response. You're actually looking at what's being said, hearing what's being said, processing that, and responding. That is so important. And if you're not able to do that, then you're too busy. right? If you're too busy to do that, if you're too distracted, you're losing in the accountability field. You may think you're doing well, and you may see, the responses going, "Oh, I responded right away," but did you really understand what they said? I know an individual that in messages that were done, like in small group, things that needed to be done, they'd say something about it. I'd say, well, what about that? What about that thing that they said needed to be done? They're like, oh, I didn't know they said that. I'm like, well, it's right there. Look at the message. Did you not read it? This is what we're working on. You're saying it's done, but right there's the thing that needs to be done, and it isn't done. Oh, they didn't read it. They didn't pay attention to that. They responded, but they weren't processed. They weren't being accountable to that
Exactly.
communication.
Exactly. That's it. That's it exactly. Um, Accountability and communication is really vital because I'm noticing more and more people are not hearing what you say.
Yeah.
Uh, they are hearing what they want you to say, or
Yeah.
they're not hearing you at all.
Right. A
And
lot of that.
miscommunication can be a serious matter.
Oh, yes.
If we're going to be accountable, then our communication must be accurate.
Yeah.
And we must do something about having skillful communication, speaking clearly, not taking too long to tell something, etc.
Yep.
Another area of accountability, that's another big area, is in money,
Yeah.
finances.
That's
See,
huge.
nowadays, money management is more than just money. It's a matter of asset allocation,
Yeah.
asset management, and which involves the use of our time, um, uh, material, stewardship. But just narrow it down just to money. Let's say the person works for a paycheck.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Accountability about the use of that what that paycheck presents. That's uh, nowadays in America, people are living at about 120% of income. So that
Mm-hmm.
means they're going deeper in the hole every
Yeah.
month, which means the credit limits have to be increased
But I
every
can
month.
afford the payment. What if I can afford the payment? Isn't that the trick that the advertisers give you? Well, you can afford the payment. Well, you're getting more and more debt. Spread it out
Well,
long enough, for the rest of your life. Yeah, you can afford the payment. You just got to do it for 90 years.
we went through a time when all of a sudden people were not asking how much is
Right.
that. They were asking how much a month is that.
Yeah, what's the payment? What's the monthly? Let me see if I can work this into my budget.
And they don't have a budget. I
Yeah.
know someone. I know someone that has been broke basically all his life, and it's because he would never hold still to let anybody help him put together a budget,
Mm,
which tells me he didn't want to live on a budget. Anybody who doesn't deal with budgets, it's because they don't want to deal with budgets. Uh,
fair enough.
Usually, somebody that's in trouble financially,
Hmm.
and high percentage of them, it will be because they do not have a budget.
That's what happened to me. I mean, at one time, I owed more money on credit cards than I owed on my house. It was ridiculous. And the only way to get out of that, and it took years, I don't think it took decades, but it took many years, was to budget, to be very careful, to not continually add, and it's good. I'm glad I don't have debt now, but there was a time, and it was because, yeah, I didn't budget. I didn't care. It's like I have this money, I'll use it for this, I'll use it for that. Very careless, and it really started with the discipline of giving into the kingdom, starting with 10% right off the top, and then going from there, and finding ways to reach out to others. Always having that at the beginning of the budgeting concept, of the idea of doing better financially and all that. And but it took time, took discipline, took budgeting, and it took having a spouse that's better at it than I am. That helped a lot for me. Um,
Well, it takes a little bit of effort to be accountable in finances, but it's worth it if you value uh, uh, freedom from financial stress and worry and concerns. If you value uh, being relaxed about money, then it's worth the effort. Going down the supermarket aisle, read labels, look at the price on stuff.
yeah.
One can is cheaper than the same thing in another can. Turn them over. Look, what's the ingredients? One is just a brand. One is you're paying for a name.
Sometimes they're canned in the same factories.
Oh, of course, well,
And
they
and
are.
now and now again with technology, there's apps that you can use to scan, and it can tell you, and even for like those that want to be healthier, be accountable for their health. I don't think we're gonna have time to dig real deep into all the different areas of accountability, but that'd be another area, right? There's like an app where you can scan and see what has the better products within this group, which as far as not a bunch of man-made, processed those types of things. There's all kinds of abilities now to be able to make better choices and have assistance with some of those things.
Well, here's a test for you
Oh, good.
and for a lot of other people.
Yeah.
Do you remember when facial tissues and toilet tissues were in a variety of colors? You could get blue toilet tissue and pink toilet tissue and etc. Do you
I don't
remember?
remember toilet tissue being in a different color. I've definitely seen it with the
Do you
first
remember
tissue.
facial tissue being in different colors?
I remember the boxes being in different colors.
No, I'm talking about the paper itself, the tissue.
Hmm.
Probably not, because
I
you
don't think
see,
so.
you're a younger guy.
Yeah,
But when
I
I
don't think
was
so.
when I was about 16 years old, I was working in a small grocery store
Hmm.
that did a lot of business on the books. That is, they delivered to the houses older people. We had a panel truck and one guy that put together. They called in on an old-fashioned phone, and we
Right.
we
And you'd
wrote down
write
all
it
that,
down, right, with an
wrote it
actual
down, and
paper.
yeah, and we had the first sheet was the guy that was going to um, um, he was going to box up the groceries to deliver. The second sheet went on the hook there, so that the owner's wife later could total up that person's grocery bill at the end of the month, send them a bill. Anyway, uh, I remember having to go up 2 flights of stairs in the hot summertime to an unair conditioned, obviously, uh, storage room above this little store to look for a roll of blue toilet paper. This old lady did not want any toilet paper except blue because it went with her decor. There were others that pink was their deal. Yeah, and I remember how stupid I thought that was. I don't now. Somebody I need to research this probably because you're not going to do it, and nobody else is that I know of. But when did they stop coloring Kleenex or any facial tissue and toilet tissue, and
Right.
and why? Was there a reason?
Right. Was
Was
it
there
like
a?
chemicals in it or something like
I
that?
wonder. I wonder. But anyway, uh,
Did there
uh,
used to be colored toilet paper? How long did it last and why did it stop? I'll ask some technology here and see what happens. I don't know if
they
this will
probably have
toast.
the answer.
Let's see. It's checking. In the 50s as a way to match bathroom decor. The popularity peaked in the 70s. The product began to decline in the 80s. Wow, it was around for quite a while.
Yeah.
And supermarket shelves by the end of the 80s, 90s, I guess. Why it stopped? Health concerns. Apparently, there were some UTIs maybe involved with it. Environmental impact, aesthetic shift, and the cost. There you go. Amazing how much
Okay.
we can learn.
I remember a lady medical doctor who was a friend of ours. This is back in the early 70s. Her husband was a lawyer. She was a medical doctor. They made lots of money, had a big house, and more than one bathroom. Every bathroom had white toilet paper. She could have had any color,
Right?
but it wasn't a health issue with her.
Yeah.
It was simply a utilitarian matter.
Yeah.
Why have color tissue
To
when
flush down the toilet.
we know that it has very limited use? Don't want
Yeah.
to be uncouth here, but here
Well,
were
I mean,
people.
you think about it. What kind of decadence, right? You were gonna make something pretty, something that, yeah,
Yeah, well, and see, colored tissue was more expensive than white,
yeah,
and her sense
decadence,
of
luxury.
stewardship and
Yeah,
accountability in the early 70s was remarkable. Now, this I'll tell this, then we got to get off here, Dennis. But
yeah.
accountability. Um, this lady, way back then, discussed with me her stock portfolio that she'd inherited from her father, and it was worth in the neighborhood of $600,000. A lot of money back then.
Yeah.
But I told her because her husband, that's not where his head was. He wasn't interested. Uh, I told her how to handle her stock portfolio, and then I saw her the last time uh, about 20 years ago, which would be about the year 2005, along in there. And first time I'd seen her in all those years. And she said, Paul, the advice you gave me, I'm a millionaire. And she was in delight. And she was just having the best time with it because all she did was what I told her to do about being accountable with the stock that she inherited. And now, of course, somebody would say, well, from the early 70s to the early
Yeah.
2000s, 30 years. Well, yeah,
It was bound to
600,000.
happen. Yeah, of course.
No,
Sure.
she hers grew beyond the normal growth rate.
Right.
She used what I told her to do and kept what I told her to keep and just let it grow. And she became a millionaire. Well, Dennis, according to
So that's,
my,
yeah, we're out of time, but yeah, I think about
yeah,
the one thing that I think you've experienced a lot when it comes to accountability is someone that does come and ask for you advice, and then after you give them the advice and they say something that shows they're not going to be accountable, what do they say?
yeah, they say, well, yes, but,
Yeah,
and
but yeah.
why did you ask me?
Yeah.
Uh,
Hold on, I want to let my button get in the way real quick.
if you're not, if you're going to be accountable, don't respond, well, yes, but,
Why are you
that,
asking for advice if you're going to dismiss it right away? At least
exactly,
stop,
exactly.
receive it, and
Yeah.
contemplate before you let your butt get in the way.
Accountable, be accountable with these phones. While we were talking, I had a call coming in from a man in Toledo, Ohio. I've never met him in person, but we've talked on the phone. He's a retired PhD faculty member of Bob Jones University, and he's a teacher of Greek. And
Nice.
he teaches online courses now to Greek students, people wanting to learn Greek, not within the confines of Bob Jones University, but on his own by use of the internet.
Yeah.
He's being a good steward and being accountable with his knowledge, his expertise to train others to be able to read the scripture, the New Testament in Greek. So,
Yeah, I had a friend of mine over at the Packer game the other day, and in the process of being there and spending time with family, he also took a little bit of time and he wrote a song with AI on like lupus and some things that he has grandkids dealing with to kind of help with having something to address those issues. And it's like, rather than stopping, if you got some spare time in between some things and playing a game or searching and scrolling or whatever kind of stuff we can do with those items, why not use it in the kingdom to encourage someone to reach out to a mentor, to whatever? There's so many ways that it can be used to in positive relationships rather than just the relationship with a piece of glass in your hand and some electronics. It's all it is. It's flashing lights. It's flashing lights. It's flashing lights and sound. It's all it is. You perceive all these things, they're not real. People are real. Having
That's
those
right.
relationships are so important. So if you can pray us out, Doc, or any final words as well, of course.
Well, final word: be accountable. Uh, People will appreciate it, and you'll appreciate the fact that they're accountable. And every Christian ought to be accountable. And now I'll pray. Father, thank you that we've had this time together, and that some folks have been paying attention. They've been blessed. Something useful has come into their keeping. Thank you in the name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen.
See you next
Have a
week.
good day. Bye,
You
everybody.
too.
Signing out.